Hey, want to start a revolution? I'm talking about a revolution where parents and children talk about everything, especially sex. Your kids could grow up equipped to face the harms of sexualized society, but at the same time, inspired about the radiance of sexuality when in its true form. School of Love is here to start this revolution, and I hope you join in. Hello, here is Amelia Lindemann, and I want to share with you my recent realizations on why talking to our kids about sex is so important. So my husband and I, we have been, since we had kids, we have 4 of them now, we've been really open about human biology and our bodies. So if the kids had questions about that, we've been really open from the start. And then, of course, the questions become more in the direction, so wait, where do babies come from? And first, we also were unsure about that, but when the kids had a question, we always answered it honestly. And now the kids have figured out how it works, but then the topic does continue. There's also sexuality, and so much more than just human biology in this topic. And this is new territory for us, honestly. We haven't really been talking to our kids about that until now. Things have changed, and I just want to talk to you about kind of how and why they changed. So, yeah, when things got a bit further than just the biology part or just basic making babies, we've been putting those topics to the side, not sure about how to talk about it or even if it's the right time. And the thing is, if you go shopping, just basic shopping, kids will see things that they have questions about. So, like, maybe it will be inappropriate things or just things that intrigue their curiosity. So, in the past, we've been more the cover up and ignore kind of parents. So, if that came up, we would just say, oh, that's just something not for kids. And now it's different. So I've realized that I need to talk about sexuality with my kids. They are in the ages of 3 to 11. And recently I sat down with my 9 and 11-year-old, and I just talked to them about how sexuality is something beautiful, but in this world, it's being abused and misused in so many ways. And it's so important to differentiate, to learn to differentiate those two things. We had this conversation and it went pretty well. I mean, I didn't make it a big extravaganza. We just kind of sat on the couch and talked. And I just wanted to mention that because maybe we sometimes feel this pressure like, oh, we have to make it the right time, the right day, the right preparation, or make it super special, which is nice. And if you want to do that, that's definitely great. But it can also just happen organically. And I think the main thing is just that it happens, that we bring it up as parents because our kids might not always bring it up themselves. And after this conversation, my daughters, or yeah, just all the kids, because not only did I talk to my 2 daughters, but then I talked to all of my kids about pornography, as that is also something that all of them have to watch out for. So questions have been coming back, and I've been really happy to get feedback from my kids. I just feel like that having this conversation unearthed these questions that they probably had, but they didn't know who they can go to with these questions. For example, my daughter, she mentioned a friend of hers saw something really strange at a gas station. What is that? And what is it for? And so we talked about it. And then also recently, my 6-year-old, who can now read, he can also read billboards. And those billboards also have really confusing things for 6-year-olds or whatever age of child that can read. And so he asked me and we talked about it. And I'm just so grateful now that this communication line is now open. It's like I started the conversation and now we can just keep on talking about any kind of question that comes up. In the past, I thought if the kids have a question, they'll come to me and then I'll answer it. But sometimes the questions don't always come. Sometimes the kids are maybe waiting to know what they should do with this question, or they might already know mom and dad are a little bit uncomfortable talking about this kind of thing. Maybe I shouldn't talk to them about it. And I think it is normal that maybe as parents we're uncomfortable to talk about these questions, but still we got to bring it up so that the kids can come to us with that kind of question. I was talking to my husband about this billboard, um, and why we just need to be so open with our kids because they see these things all the time, and actually it can be so liberating for parent and child when we just talk about these things. And as we talked, my daughter in the back of the car heard us talking, and she's like, "What are you guys talking about?" And I just told her, yeah, when kids see things on a billboard or a poster or anywhere and they ask about it, and if the parents say, "Oh, that's just not for kids," or "Oh, just don't look at that, it's not for your eyes," I don't know. Then she said, "Yeah, but that just makes the kids more curious." And it's totally true. I mean, who doesn't get more curious when you say those kind of things? And I think we can't expect kids to pop this curiosity bubble themselves. They want this curiosity or these questions to be answered. And if we don't answer them as parents, then they're going to look somewhere else. They might look in the internet or they might ask friends. And it's so easy to get wrong information or just diluted information or misleading information. And this is building their concept of sexuality because they're so young. They don't know yet so much about it. But all of these early impressions are really building up their concept of what sexuality is. And I think if we really want to give them something really important in their lives, it's a healthy impression of what sexuality is. And yeah, I just want to recommend another podcast that I have been listening to called Media Savvy Moms. And there's this one lady there who, yeah, she gives the podcast and is really diving into this topic of how to talk about pornography, sexuality with our kids, and how to be careful with technology these days. So, some really good wisdom there. And one thing she had to say is when you feel uncomfortable with your kids talking about anything on this topic, just tell them, just be honest, say, "I'm uncomfortable about this, but I want to talk to you about it because it's important." And I think just saying this not only relieves tension or pressure between you and your child, or just maybe you put on yourself, but it also shows your child you're willing to be vulnerable with them and you are able to talk about even things that are awkward. Maybe they might feel awkward about something, but they know, okay, if mom and dad are willing to talk about that, then I can go to them and talk about these things or ask them questions. So I think, yeah, being honest is such a valuable tool. And yeah, we don't know maybe everything in this topic. I definitely don't. And we might feel unqualified to be this person helping our kids to understand sexuality. However, you are probably the person who loves your child the most in the world, you and your spouse. I'm sure there are many other people who love your child also very, very much, but most likely you love them the most. And that's what qualifies you to talk to them about this. Yeah, I think what we want the best for our kids, and just being able to have these conversations is showing that we also want the best for them in their sexual part of their lives. I think we've maybe been ignoring this or just so uncomfortable throughout generations to talk about this. And that's why it just hasn't been happening. Or maybe everyone has said different reasons. But now it's the time to talk about it and to be open about it and set our kids up for a healthy sexual life in their future. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys. I really hope to see you more in the future, because I know there's so many questions or just so many things to talk about in this area. So I'm really excited to get into that, and I hope to see you again. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast from School of Love. If any of this was interesting for you, then you can follow us on our Facebook page, School of Love, or you can also catch us on Instagram. Family is the School of Love.